Welcome back. Today's topic is on how to hear God, hearing God. We all have the ability to hear God. We all can hear God. And before I learned how to practice, how to actually hear his voice, I was hearing God. I just didn't realize it was God till after the fact. And I'm sure we all have situations like that. So today's topic is going to be on practicing how to hear from God so you can hear him better in your everyday life and know that you're hearing. So how to recognize God's voice. It all started for me when I started going to a church that was spirit-filled, and they taught on how to hear God's voice, how to be prophetic. So, and then I had a mentor, which really helped guide me along the way of practicing all this information and guiding me. So that is always one thing I'd always recommend is if you're not in a spirit-filled church, try to get into a spirit-filled church, one that preaches on the gifts, prophecy, healing, deliverance, and practices them. Or like if you can have a mentor, that would be great. But here's just something you can practice right now. So it's important. It's always important to spend time in your word, but it's also important to make sure you are spending the time hearing from him. And so one way I practice, or one way I do that is get into a quiet place. Some people call it their prayer closet. It doesn't have to be a closet. Mine is just my couch. I'll go on my couch and spend time with the Lord. So I will go ahead and like either sometimes put on like it's called out I'll go like put on like worship music, or like it's called like soaking music without the lyrics, just the music in the background, or like I won't put on any music. And then you can always set a timer if you're going to start this. So you can start with like 5 or 10 minutes, put on a timer, and then you can just like sit in the spirit and listen to what comes. So you're going to want to still your mind and like calm it. So if you're like me and you have thoughts racing, and then you're going to sit down and it's going to be the devil like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. You can write it down so you don't forget, and you can do that after. But you do want to just do your best to like still your mind and just be like in the spirit, and then let what comes, like whatever comes to you from the Lord, go ahead and write it down. If you have a notebook, if not, I'd recommend getting a notebook and just writing down what comes. And you can always ask the Lord when you sit down. You can, if you pray in tongues, you can begin with a prayer in tongues. And you can always say, this is what I was taught from my mentors. You say, download the blueprints of heaven in my mind. Download the blueprints of heaven. And then you can do some talking, but the main focus is you're not taking up the conversation. You're allowing God to speak to you. So sure, you can talk to God, but you want to allow him time to respond. I would say start this for 5 or 10 minutes a day. If you can, like, just sit down, music or no music, try to clear your mind and write down what comes. And if nothing comes, that's okay. A lot of times nothing comes for me. So I will usually just sit down or lay down. I'll usually lay down or sit down on the couch. That's my prayer closet, and do this. And then, most of the time I get nothing right then and there. And it can be frustrating sometimes because you feel like you're putting in the work. So begin with a time frame, 5 to 10 minutes to start. If you can go longer, that's great. Spend time with him, write down anything that comes to your mind. If nothing comes down, that's okay. And what happens to me sometimes, usually I get nothing. And then what happens is I'll just be driving in my car, and then all of a sudden, there it is. God speaks to me right there. He answers my question. He tells me something right then and there, like later. So it's usually not for me, not immediate. I'll just be doing something and then he'll tell me it later. And that's normal too. So if you don't get anything, that's okay. I usually don't. Some people do. And I think it's just practice. It's practice learning how to hear from God. My mentor would say, it's like going to the gym. You go to the gym to grow your muscles. You spend time with the Lord to recognize his voice, to build up that propheticness, to hear him. And this kind of ties into prophecy a little bit, because what is prophecy? Prophecy is basically a message from the Lord. And it's always great to get prophetic words from someone else, especially when we need confirmation or it's something we've been waiting on. But it's even better when we can hear the Lord for himself, because we can't always go off of prophecy. We have to be able to hear him directly and know when it's him speaking to us, and not go off of just what other people tell. How God speaks to me is he will speak to me in words. He'll just give me a word will pop in my head. Or he'll speak to me in visions. He'll give me like a vision of something. Like it can be like the other day he gave me a vision of a flamingo. So he'll just give us visions. So he'll give me visions and words. And then other times it's Bible verses. So he'll put a Bible verse into my head. But it's different for everyone. I know some people, they said that they hear him through like numbers, and I'm like, I've never heard God from numbers, but they do, or they hear God from like license plates or cars. So it's going to be different how he speaks to us all. He speaks to us all individually and different. So he might speak to me one way. He might speak to me only through like words and visions and Bible verses, but he might speak to someone else completely different, like someone, they get all these numbers. So it just depends, and and it could always change. He can change the way he speaks to us. So this was just a touch on hearing from the Lord. We'll touch on prophecy too, but the main points here is just we all hear from the Lord. We can all hear him. And then in order to better hear him and to be led by him, not after the fact, but beforehand, it's just a matter of spending time with him. And spending time with him will look different for each of us. This is just my example of how I spend time with him. Hopefully that helps. Let me know if you have any questions or anything else you'd like to see. Thanks for watching. And then if you enjoyed this, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Thank you.